Okay, here's some new information, kind of a quick one though, just on shorts. Let's listen and I'll elaborate.
I told you some Vikings actually had Native American blood? Well, it actually happened. Vikings had invaded multiple countries within the 300 years they were in power. So it's only rational that Viking men would mingle with a diverse crowd of women and establish settlements. According to...
So, this is a thing that's out in National Geographic, he's fixing to say, but it's showing a proof that there were Native Americans or Amerindians that had not only gotten with the Vikings, but also they see genetics in these people that are all up around Iceland and Norway and the Nordics and stuff now. And that kind of makes connections to other videos that I just did last year where they ended up doing the DNA of the most ancient of dogs in South America. And lo and behold, they ended up being exactly related to, well, it even showed not exactly what's there now, but the ancient dogs that already had the DNA of this same area that we commonly refer to the Vikings, although we're actually getting to the point here where it's kind of pre-Viking-ish too at a point. Let's listen again.
National Geographic, 500 years before Columbus sailed to America, a Native American woman may have voyaged to Europe with Vikings, according to a new DNA study. Analyzing the DNA passed from mother to child, scientists found more than 80 living Icelanders with a genetic sequence that is found in Native Americans.
Isn't that wild? There are other connections that we've had over the years, so many of them. Certain stones that have names that have Phoenician writing on them too. Things along those lines. It's amazing the connectives that you can make over time. And then, of course, some of this is always looked at as mythology and so on, but whenever they find it actually in genetics, that kind of verifies something here. And what they're saying here on this, but I'll have to get into the paper and stuff and may have another video coming up on it or another presentation shortly once it gets more put out. But the idea here is that some of these people that we know of as Vikings have a genetic signature in them from admix, apparently from a Y, not Y, but an X chromosome, Amerindian woman, back on this side over here instead of being in the Americas. And we've also seen ancient people even make these connections before, such as the Mandan Sioux. Whenever an artist was going along with a group of people, he found it extremely weird that there was this flaxen blonde-haired lady who didn't really look like an Amerindian in with the Amerindians, and there were more than one, but he painted her. She had blue eyes too, and people started making the connections back then too that there must have been something else, and of course Leif Erikson and all the things of that. But there also got to be a thought that maybe she's where the Jamestown people went to or something like that, and that's not really a good connective because that's quite far away from where they would have been, even on the coast, to where the Mandan Sioux were known up to have inhabited. So that's kind of crazy. But there are also stoneworked built-in buildings all around the New England area and so on, all through Ohio and down into the Mississippian Valley cultures that show connections to a people that aren't the same connections as a lot of other Amerindians that are there and so on. So there easily is known in ancient times something a lot more happened than what's tried to be told to us and also tried to be written off repeatedly over and over again. But again, when genetics steps up to the plate, well, that kind of ends that, doesn't it? Let me know what y'all think down below. But this is pretty interesting.
What is known, it is confirmed that Norsemen did intermarry with Celtic women when journeying to Ireland. What if I...
So, ancient Celts, which I've got another video coming out about soon, and showing that there's a connection that goes on there also. And I believe it's also been found in the Amerindians too, but it's something that's not shown And then they want to act ambiguous of whether this was much later and all this. And of course, because of those effects, they probably don't want to get into it at all. But here's just another confirmation that they have found. And it's not a questionable artifact or anything anymore. It's actually genetics of people that shows you this went on too. A little bit different than that idea of Vinland and so on. In fact, I made a video a couple years ago where they found another settlement there that's extremely questionable. No, it's pretty much another Viking settlement, but that's into the Canada area right above Maine and so on, and we've really encroached down a much closer. What if they went around this way too? Well, that's where all those buildings come in, and those ancient tablets that show a lot of Celtic writing and everything. And of course, through the whole times, they've tried to write it off. But then genetics shows up and says, you know, all these dogs down here come directly from way over there. There's also genetics that are showing a connection here that cannot be denied too. Again, this is just a preliminary thing, and I'll get the hold of the paper here soon, hopefully, and be able to go through it and see what they're saying, or wait until we get a few people's take on the situation that are involved. Peace.